Hey everyone, it's Johnny from Hot Take Hockey to give you my potential trade targets for the Vancouver Canucks from now until the trade deadline. So if you are here, please subscribe to the channel, hit that thumbs up, do all that good stuff. And of course, if you want to be committed to the channel, be here when I do post content or go live for live streams, do hit that notification bell. I just want to say it's a surprising season for the Canucks. I mean, it's been inconsistent, but players that we weren't expecting to have great seasons are having the great seasons. We've already talked about JT Miller and what he's done so far this season. And of course, Elias Pettersson being the contributor that he is being. The depth of the Vancouver Canucks, of course, there are some holes. There's been some injuries, the back end, and then, of course, the goaltending from Markstrom. And then, of course, obviously the question marks, do we resign Markstrom long term? That's kind of the perspective of what Jim Benning is going to have to ask, and the management's going to have to ask for the Vancouver Canucks. So I also want to say at the start of this video, I need to get my new Canucks jersey, so in the comment section, let me know which player you want me to get. And I know a lot of Canucks fans are Seahawks fans, so shout out to my boy Russell Wilson. Seahawks lost. They didn't go to the Super Bowl. They didn't go to the NFC Championship, so rip to that. And then, of course, it has been really cold lately, so I gotta rep my little Canucks blanket. So, hey, stay warm, guys. But I do want to get in this video, so let me know what you think about my picks here. I'm going to start off with a guy like Chris Kreider. So Chris Kreider, he's a penny UFA, big left winger, power forward. I think the Vancouver Canucks should look at a guy like Chris Kreider. I think if you're looking at a guy like Michael Furland, who they signed to a deal in the offseason, this is kind of what you were expecting in a guy like Chris Kreider. Maybe Furland comes back in the lineup and he can be a solid third-line guy, but if you're acquiring Chris Kreider, he can be a very consistent guy in your top six. And I think they've already found that consistency in other players, whether that is a guy like JT Miller. Obviously, he's been one of the better players, if not the best. I would say, again, Elias Pettersson's there for sure, so we can't just kind of say JT Miller. But JT Miller, Elias Pettersson, obviously Brock Besser, these are your stars for the Vancouver Canucks. And then on the back end, obviously, Quinn Hughes has been ridiculous so far this year, and then you can go down the list. But I think Chris Kreider could be an addition the Vancouver Canucks look at. Again, a penny UFA. It depends how much he would cost, what the return is. Another guy that might fill that role, but cheaper, would be a guy like Josh Anderson. He's had a bit of a down year with the Columbus Blue Jackets. I could see a guy like Josh Anderson, maybe the Vancouver Canucks looking at him and it being a cheaper option. I would also look at a guy like Ondrej Kase. This is a guy that you can have control of, like Josh Anderson. And I think that's a little bit of the difference here. Chris Kreider, penny UFA, Josh Anderson, Ondrej Kase, and then I'm going to move on to Connor Brown as well. These three players you can all have control under. They're all three fairly young, and I think if you're looking at the Vancouver Canucks, yes, you are a playoff team right now, and you're pushing for a playoff spot to be there in April. So I think if you're looking at this team, you also want to look in the future as well, and you have those younger pieces, and you want to have guys that you have control over, which would be either Ondrej Kase or Josh Anderson and Connor Brown. Out of those three, Ondrej Kase would probably come the most expensive, even though he's had a down year as well. Yes, last year he struggled with some injuries, but in the time that he was healthy, he played ridiculous. Connor Brown's had a pretty good year with Ottawa. I think it depends if Pierre Dorion wants to keep him in the lineup, keep him for the future, but maybe that's an option for the Vancouver Canucks. There has been rumors that both the Canucks and Oilers in the past have been interested in Connor Brown. And then if I'm looking at the Devils, two players I would want to be interested in if I'm the Vancouver Canucks would be Nikita Gusev and Kyle Palmieri. I think the Devils see what they have in Gusev finally. He's finally playing, I wouldn't say that complete game yet. I think defensively he's still struggling, but he's kind of growing onto his own. Even with Taylor Hall now gone, I think he's getting more of that ice time, more of that, I would say, just opportunity with the Devils. So I would look at Gusev if he's available. Maybe Palmieri. He is under contract for this year and next. And then a couple more pending UFAs. Mikael Granlund I would look at. That's a cheaper option. I think a lot of teams should look at a guy like Mikael Granlund, especially if the Preds are sellers. Granlund could be buy low, possibly high reward. So I would look at Mikael Granlund as well as Alex Galchenyuk. I think both those players could be, like I said, buy low, high reward potential. And they've both struggled, so we've seen success from them in the past. I think the Vancouver Canucks could be a team that if they don't want to pay the extra for a guy that does have term, then they could take a chance on one of these two guys. And then I just want to throw a random trade. Not that it makes a whole lot of sense, but more just because it would be bringing back a guy that, you know what, has struggled, but it's a bigger body, and you've kind of had those type of players in your bottom six So trading Sven Barchi potentially back to Calgary for maybe a guy like Mark Jankowski, or maybe get a bigger trade. You include Sven Barchi and maybe a prospect and a draft pick and acquire a guy like Sam Bennett. So again, we don't like talking about teams trading between divisions, but I just wanted to put something out there. I think Sven Barchi maybe could benefit from some familiarity with the Calgary Flames. I'm just throwing something out there. Sometimes I like to throw out random trades. And Mark Jankowski, Sam Bennett, they haven't really been big contributors for the Flames. They've both struggled in the past. So I just wanted to throw that out there. And then a jokes trade maybe would be with the Devils. And this is kind of a huge hot take. You know, sometimes I like throwing out hot takes. Obviously, you have that contract of Louis Eriksson. And if you're looking at Louis Eriksson, I'm looking at the potential of looking at a guy like Corey Schneider, who you gave up to the Devils. He's obviously struggled. He's in his late 30s or mid 30s, sorry. And I think if you're looking at Corey Schneider, similar cap hits, and maybe you include that trade and bring Gusev back, or I don't know, then include Demko. I don't know how it would be. I'm just throwing that out there because I just look at Canucks fans. They're always complaining about Louis Eriksson, and you know what? He scores a goal every now and then, but he's in your top 6 right now, and I just think there could be room to acquire different guys and try to move on from Eriksson. Again, expansion drafts coming up, so if you were to do something crazy like that, you wouldn't have to protect Schneider, because why would you? And then you could just focus on protecting a guy like Markstrom if you were to trade Demko away for a different kind of piece. Again, maybe that's in the options for Canucks. If they want to trade Demko and acquire a younger forward back or a younger defensive back, maybe that's also an option. Do the Vancouver Canucks either have Tanev as an own rental, or are they going to look to re-sign him? His agent kind of pointed towards Chris Tanev wanting to re-sign in Vancouver. So I'm just throwing all these random stuff out there, but I do think the Vancouver Canucks have a lot to think about. They are a playoff team right now. Are they going to be a playoff team in April? That's the question right now. I think this team has showed they can be a playoff team. I had them in my early predictions back in September or early October. I had the Vancouver Canucks as the second wildcard spot. So we'll see what happens. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe again, like I said. If you're new to the channel, give it a chance. I hope to see you around, and smash that like button. Comment your thoughts below. This was John from RPO Bay Hockey. Hope you have a good one. Peace out.